This is our 6th video for Chapter 1. This is Chapter 1, Section 6, Adding and Subtracting Rational Numbers. What you'll learn in this video is to add and subtract rational numbers. And remember, a rational number is the quotient of two integers where the divisor is not 0. There are no terms in this video. You can add and subtract rational numbers to find the differences in temperatures. Temperatures in cold climates can change from being above 0 to being below 0 in one day. One day in 1939, the temperature in Rochester, Minnesota dropped from 3.3 degrees to negative 30 degrees in less than 24 hours. To find the difference in temperatures, you can find the distance between the two temperatures on a number line. This is similar to finding the distance between 2 points when we were graphing things on the coordinate plane. Please copy this key concept box into your notebook. So it's distance on a number line. The distance between two numbers on the number line is the absolute value of their difference. So find the distance between negative 1.4 and 2.8. You subtract negative 1.4 from 2.8, or you can subtract 2.8 from negative 1.4 before you find the absolute value of the difference. For example, 2.18 minus negative 1.4 is the same as 2.8 plus 1.4. So that gives us an answer of 4.2. So the difference, or the space between these two numbers on the number line, is 4.2. So the absolute value of 4.2 remains 4.2. You can check this by counting the distance on a number line. So we start at negative 1.4, jump to 1, so we jump the 0.4, jump 1 for the 1.4, then 2 more for the 2, and then 0.8 for the 0.8 and 2.8. So we're doing 0.4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 0.8. which still gives us a value of 4.2. Whether you find the absolute value of the difference of the 2 points or you count on the number line, the distance remains 4.2. You know how to add and subtract integers, and you know how to add and subtract positive decimals, fractions, and mixed numbers. You can use these skills to add and subtract rational numbers. So the sum of two positive rational numbers is the sum of two negative rational numbers is negative. So the sum of two positive numbers is positive, and the sum of two negative numbers is negative. So if we have positive 1 3/4 plus 2 1/8, both numbers are positive, so the sum will be positive. So 2 plus 1 is 3, then we have to find the common denominator. 4 goes to 8, 3 goes to 6, 6 plus 1 is 7, and the denominator just comes across, so 3 7/8. If we have negative 3.5 plus negative 4.25, both numbers are negative, so my answer will be negative, and then 3 plus 4 is 7, and 0.5 plus 0.25 is 0.75, so we get an answer of negative 7.75. Now, if they have a different sign, you find the absolute value of each addend, subtract the lesser from the greater, and then the sum has the sign of the addend with the greatest absolute value. So if we have positive 1 3/4 plus negative 2 1/8, we're going to have the absolute value of 1 3/4, and then the absolute value of negative 2 1/8. So the absolute value of 1 3/4 is still 1 3/4, and the absolute value of negative 2 1/8 is positive 2 1/8. So then we want to find the difference between those two numbers. So 2 1/8 minus 1 3/4, 1 3/4 would become 1 6/8. We need to regroup our 2 1/8 to make it 1 9/8. So 1 minus 1 is 0, then 9 minus 6 is 3, leaving us with 3/8. So 2 1/8 is greater than 1 3/4, so the sum is negative 3/8. Lastly, let's look at negative 3.5 plus positive 4.25. So the absolute value of negative 3.5 is positive 3.5, and the absolute value of 4.25 is positive 4.25. So if I subtract those two numbers, I get a distance of 0.75. And since the bigger number was positive, the sum is also positive. Pause the video and do this quick check in your notebook. Now let's look at subtracting rational numbers. Now, to subtract a rational number, you just add its opposite. So if we want to find 6 2/3 minus negative 3 1/3, that goes back to our add a line and change the sign. So the opposite of minus negative 3 1/3 would be adding positive 3 1/3. So that gives me 10, because 6 plus 3 is 9. Then 2/3 plus 1/3 gives me another whole, so 9 plus 1 is 10. Now let's find negative 4.68 minus negative 5.79. Change the sign, add a line, change the sign. So negative 4.68 plus positive 5.79. We're going to add the opposite, which gives us the positive 5.79. So that gives us an answer of 1.11 because we subtracted the absolute values, and since the bigger number was positive, the answer is positive. Pause the video and do these in your notebook. Now, you can subtract rational numbers to find temperature distances. So the temperature is 3.5 Celsius at noon and negative 2.7 Celsius at 6 p.m. So 3.5 at noon and negative 2.7 at 6 p.m. We want to find the change in temperature. So we'll have our original amount, our original temperature at noon of 3.5 minus, because we're changing, the end temperature of negative 2.75. So if we're minusing a negative, we know we add a line and change the sign. So it becomes 3.5 plus 2.7, or add the opposite. Opposite of negative 2.7 is positive 2.7. And 3.5 plus 2.7 gives us an answer of 6.2. So the change in temperature is 6.2 degrees Celsius from noon to 6 p.m. Pause the video and do this one in your notebook. Now let's check your understanding. Be sure to label as check your understanding in your notebook, number all the problems, write down any original equations, and show any and all work. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.